Welcome to Person, a cultural arts talk show featuring visual artists, musicians, and entertainment professionals who have a story to tell. Person shares studio interviews, and we look into the performances that fuel the soul and spirit. I'm your host, Mark Person. Join me on Person where everyone has a story to tell. Hello everyone, I'm here in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. I'm here with Yoron Israel, one of the top drummers in the whole world. Yoron, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Definitely, thank you so much.
So when the greats come and they need a drummer, you're considered a first call musician.
Yes.
Tell the world what that's about.
Well, you know, it's like when people know my work and they know that when, you know, if they call me, there's going to be a certain quality of work. There's going to be a certain professionalism. There's going to be a certain even preparation. They know that I'm going to prepare to do the best that I can possibly do and prepare and take their music and their art serious enough to prepare so that we can get the most out of the experience that we have together, you know, and musically we're going to have some fun on the bandstand.
We're so happy to have you here in Boston. When you were in New York, how did you decide you wanted to come here? Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, that experience, it was a tough one because I always say that, yeah, I grew up in Chicago, but I became an adult in New York, you know, because that's where my children were born. That's where I was, when I came to New York, I was married. I became an adult and in New York, and just the energy of New York is like unlike any other place. Even when I go there now, I still have occasion to go there and perform. I was just there a month ago, and man, it's just a magical place. It still is. It's just a certain kind of air that's there. So, you know, when I coming to Boston was a huge choice for me and a huge change of life in a lot of ways. But what inspired it was Berklee College of Music. Obviously, I came here as there was a position, a full-time position here, and I came here and presented for that full-time position. And lo and behold, the rest is history. I'm here. I've been here for 15 years now.
You're assistant chair.
Yes.
Of the percussion
department. Yes.
Now tell us about that.
Yeah, the position, you know, I'm professor as well. I teach some classes here, teach private lessons, but I also have the duty, the honor really, the awesome responsibility of shaping the department. Shaping what the department looks like, shaping the curriculum of the department, influencing, having a huge influence on our students, a huge influence on our faculty, and so it's a responsibility that I certainly don't take lightly, and it's a responsibility that's really awesome. because we in our percussion department, is as large as most colleges, music colleges. I mean, we have 700 students, over about 50 faculty in just the percussion department.
Oh, really?
So managing this is a daunting task sometimes, but between myself, I'm assistant chair, and our chair, you know, we enjoy what we're doing, and you know, it's every year, you know, I see progress, but as I look ahead, I see the need for even more progress. So it's one of those things that never gets old, and it's never, it's kind of never, it's never a thing where I feel like it's like things are stagnated, which keeps me excited about the world of percussion, and keeps me excited about music in general as an artist.
Engage a lot of things. You can actually practice and watch. You know, one of the things when you're practicing exercises like that, I like to use not only just my sense of touch, but I also like to engage my eyes so I can see my hands in the center. Mm-hmm. That way I'm training the hands, I'm training my ear to hear what that sounds like, and I'm training my hands to go to that area. You know, even when I get involved in playing something, you know, music, I don't have to think about that, but my hands are trained they know to go to that spot for me.
I'm here today in Person to Person, where everyone has a story to tell, with one of Berkeley's College of Music students from Italy, Tancredi.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Now, what are you learning from Yoron? What is he bringing? And are you coming from an Italian sensibility? And music is music. It's a global. What is he teaching you?
Well, coming from Italy, which is a place where you can do music, but it's very, I mean, little in respect to the USA and to Berkeley. So Yoron is teaching me maybe to approach myself to the people here and to the music here, which is really big in, yeah, respect to Italy.
What can you tell the younger generation that's out want to be a percussionist from your perspective? What can you recommend to them to practice? How can they get better?
Yeah, for musicians coming up, I think one of the things that I would say is try to find a teacher, mentor. Hopefully that teacher will be your mentor. But try to find a good teacher, because it's always great to meet someone on a consistent basis and be able to speak on, you know, on things. Being able to speak on the mechanics of playing the drums, but not just the mechanics of playing the instrument, but to speak on maybe other things about maybe how to network, maybe things, you know, I'm having a hard time, you know, I wanna, you know,
play in this band at school, but I'm having a hard time. And just having someone that's a little older give you another perspective. I think that that's something that young people should try to have as many mentors as possible. But it's great to have that one lesson that you can look forward to every week. It also keeps you it keeps you in line with hopefully setting goals and attaining goals. So that's a good a big thing for me.
This is the deal. Now you have mentors. I'm here because of mentors, great mentors.
Yeah.
You were talking to me about, was it Dr. Young?
Yeah.
Tell me about him. He was
Yeah. I actually met Dr. Young through playing in this R&B band.
Okay.
My uncle and his peers,
Yes.
the other members of the band, they all took lessons from this gentleman named Dr. Young. And he was on the south side of Chicago. And man, he was somebody who I just admired. He played all the instruments and taught all the instruments. I think his primary instrument, he played all of them so well, I don't recall what his principal instrument, but the reason why I say his principal instrument is because I remember seeing pictures in his studio, and he was a violinist. But he played all the instruments, and Dr. Young, he was the first person that taught me how to read and some of the foundational things that you really never get away from. No matter how advanced you get, no matter how many years later, some of those foundational things I learned from him about drums and percussion. You know, particularly reading, particularly sound production, you know, and rudiments and things like that. He was the first teacher, my first teacher.
Now your family made sure, because you lived on the west side.
Yeah.
Dr. Young was on the south side.
Yeah.
That's quite a distance.
Yeah.
But they saw something in you.
Yeah.
And they supported you in that way.
Yeah, my parents found a way, you know, when they couldn't take me, you know, they would arrange for someone in my family to take me there. And it was most of the time, because my parents were working, most of the times, you know, a cousin or an uncle, and, you know, they thought sometimes they would even have to, you know, compensate them for taking me. But that was, you know, when I think back of that, I mean, the insight that they had to do that was amazing, you know, because, you know, it was just one of those things that they were devoted to. As I mentioned earlier, you know, they had made the commitment that, well, if you're going to play something, you have to formally study it. As well as, you know, because I'm, as a teacher myself, I do believe that, you know, the formal side is fantastic, but there's also a side where you have to train your ear and you have to be able to play spontaneously through as well. But they made a point of sticking to that commitment, and they, you know. But Dr. Young was one of many mentors, you know, when I think back. And you know, it's funny, most of my mentors were actually teachers, you know, when I think back. And you know, a lot of times people ask, well, man, who's your favorite drummer, or who's your favorite musician, or, you know, that kind of thing. And really for me, it was those unsung people that really made a difference, you know, like the Dr. Youngs. You know, I can't really single out one high school teacher in turn, because we had a whole staff of great musicians in our music department at Lane Technical High School, where I graduated. But you know, Tyrone Hines, Maurice Golden, Edwin Doherty, Carl Lawson. I mean, you know, I'm probably leaving out someone, but these were teachers, devoted teachers. But all of those gentlemen, for the most part, also were performers as well. They had a balance. They created a balance, which I think had an impact on me as well. You know, to show me that, hey, you know, you can be a great performer, and you can be a great teacher, and you can do them at the same time.
Excellent. You were telling me earlier that with Yoron, he has that something, that feel. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was talking about the awareness of when you're playing, and I think Yoron has this thing. I mean, you can really listen to the musicians that he's playing with, and to decide the right things to play in certain situation. Yeah, the environment of the music of Yoron is really right.
Wow, you say the environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the environment.
Oh man, the situation of the music, all the decisions that the musicians are taking are thought. I mean, they are really into it. They know what they're doing.
Right.
I saw Stevie the past winter at the Boston Garden.
Yeah.
And he had like 2 drummers, 2 percussionists. You can tell he loves his drums.
Yeah,
It's just the ear that he has, of course, because he can't, obviously can't see. So he has that ear. He had Ray Parker too. He had like 30 people on stage.
Wow.
And it was one of the very best concerts I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And to hear your group perform that, I think you performed "Creepin'."
Yeah.
Which is about someone that you can't get off your mind. Or
Right,
like that.
exactly.
Tell us about your band and also that song.
Well, yeah, it's that particular song. Yeah, I always that's one of those ones that's a favorite of ours as a group to perform. Actually, it's a bit challenging in that the way that I arranged it. It's rhythmically it's a little off kilter a little bit, so it's challenging. But it makes it fun. That song, it's really a love song of sorts. Although when you listen to us play, because we play it pretty aggressively, it may not seem that way. But it's about the thought of a loved one continuously in your mind, creeping in your mind.
Now, we saw you perform over at the Spire Center in Plymouth, Mass.
Yeah.
With your band, High Standards. I mean, you guys tore it up. You're just incredible. Now, you have a great CD called Visions, right?
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, Visions CD is my most recent one that's out now. It's actually Visions, the music of Stevie Wonder. And there again is that dichotomy that you mentioned earlier. Stevie Wonder, jazz. On the surface, it may seem like they are unrelated. As I started to do more research and started to really get into the music of Stevie Wonder, particularly the songs that I chose for this collection, I was amazed at the richness of the harmony and the rhythm. To me, it was on par with that of John Coltrane and the masters that we see as jazz pioneers or jazz masters. I mean, Stevie's music is just, to me, is on par with it in terms of the musical depth of it. It was very natural for me to take his songs and arrange it for my jazz quartet. And that's what I did. I took a collection of about 10 of his songs, all of them taken from what's known as the classic period, the period between 1972 and about 1978, where so many of his most identifiable compositions were written in that period.
Okay. You're a beautiful band.
Yeah.
Tell us about your band, man.
Yeah, man. It's a blessing to play with these guys. Lance Bryant, who's also from Chicago. I mean, Lance is one of my oldest musical friends. I met him. Matter of fact, he was a student here at Berkeley, and he came home, and I was still finishing up high school. He was maybe in his first year here. the summer of his first year or something. And he came to Chicago on break, and we landed at a jam session. And that's when I met him, you know. So all these years we've been playing together. When I moved to New York, he was already in New York. And then when I was here in Boston, and years later he came to Boston. And so our paths have just been, you know, connected for all these years. And he's a great musician, great saxophonist, as you heard, and just a great person in general. So I've known him for a very long time. I mean, you could say we kind of grew up musically. And we've been in bands together. We used to have a co-led band years ago called Signature when we were both in New York. And then Laszlo Gardoni is someone else who I've had a long association with. He was one of the first people that I started playing with on a regular basis here in Boston. I became a part of his trio, and we've been playing ever since. I've been playing with Laszlo since about 2001 or 2. And we've also done other projects together. We played some performances, did some performances with the great David Fathead Newman, and we also work with a local singer here by the name of Shelley Neal. So, so Laszlo is yes. I've known him many years, so I'm really happy to have him in my quartet on a regular basis. And then finally, a young man named Henry Lugo is our bassist, wonderful bass player. And I've known him, you know, only for maybe a few years now, maybe about 3-4 years, and met him. We both work in a trio. Local piano player Noel Behrman. Henry, I just love his sound. You know, we actually played in this other trio together. And one thing that always impressed me about bass players, probably the first thing, is their tone. You know, because you know, there's something about the tone of the bass and how it all facilitates the tone of the drums. And so that's one of the first things. Then the second thing was his beat. He has a great beat, and we're very compatible in that way. So it's very easy to play with him from the first time I met him. And I was like, whoa, you know. So I kept him in mind as I progressed toward, you know, starting High Standards. And once the band started, he was available, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Now, this is what I want to talk to you about. You played with some major cats out there.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett, Shirley Caesar. I'm going to tell my mother that. I can't wait to tell my mother. I forgot to tell her, but she's going to go crazy. She's a great gospel singer. Just, I mean, she is just like, I mean, she's something. I was just saying that she's something. Can't wait to tell my mom about that. And a lot of great players. I mean, Joe Henderson, just on and on and on and on. What did they have that taught you to become better? And what's that other element you were telling me about? They just had that something special. Tell us about that.
I've had the great privilege of working with some of the most masterful musicians that have graced the planet, I think, including people that you mentioned, Joe Henderson and Sonny Rollins, Horace Silver, Ahmad Jamal, Art Farmer, Kenny Burrell, some of the folks in my peer group, Joe Lovano, Roy Hargrove. I mean, the list goes. I'm sure I'm leaving out. Joe Williams. Oh man.
My God.
Man, that was incredible experience working with Joe Williams, man. Oh man, what a feeling. David Fathead Newman. I don't want to leave him out.
Charles, Ray Charles guy, right?
But each one was so different, and then even in my own evolution, how I approached that situation was different as I evolved. If I had to try to articulate one commonality between all of them or all those experiences, especially those gentlemen that are like legendary, the one thing I would say is that no matter how we think of them as legends or how much we think of them as way up here in their artistic prowess, these people were still trying to get to another level. It was never ending. When I was amazed when I was working with Horace Silver. Now Horace Silver, some of the most classic jazz compositions there are that have ever been written, it was at the pen of Horace Silver. And when I was on the road with Horace Silver, I spent his 65th and 64th birthdays with him. And when I was on the road with him, he was still writing new music, continuously writing new stuff, And but that's one aspect, is that they're still practicing their craft, still knowing that there's even somewhere else to take their art. That was one aspect. The other aspect is that because they took the art so serious, every opportunity that they had to play was taken as if it might be the last one. Just another level of commitment. and to like just be on the bandstand with that, and to somehow through osmosis soak in that has been, you know, it has been an incredible opportunity that I've had, you know. But that's what it is, you know. The level of commitment just so deep. It's really kind of undescribable, like how people can be that committed to one thing, you know. But that's what it takes, you know.
To be great.
Yeah, to be on that level. That's what it took, and that's what it takes in present tense.
And it's a pleasure for everything that you do. The passion, it's all about passion. Life is all about passion. So thank you so very, very much. And thank you for watching Person to Person, where everyone has a story to tell. It is my pleasure to work with drummer, percussionist, band leader, educator, author, and composer, Yoron Israel. Until another time, Mark Person, take care.
La vida nueva comenzó.